All right. We are now live on the YouTube um, channel. I've been doing sports on Facebook for a while. I'm Jack Neary. This is Shot of Jack. We are now live on a different platform. I'm not quite sure, how our lighting is going to be. I'm trying to work this out in the new studio. If we can get some sort of feedback here to kind of help us out, but right now I'm just trying to learn this new platform how to get decent lighting. There, that's not bad lighting. We'll bring the microphone over a little bit. All right, guys. So I wanted to talk about. I want to start off today talking about the Magic Johnson quit. Okay. Magic Johnson steps down as Lakers president. Okay, we all saw the news. And why, in his own words, did he step down? Magic Johnson, he wasn't able to be Magic Johnson. He wasn't able to be light. He wasn't able to be playful. He felt that light and playful were his strongest suits, as a human being over the years. Magic Johnson's not a rigid guy. Team president, I think the best player that really executed that position, that goes to what? Larry Bird. Larry Bird was a maniac when he played. All right, and although he wasn't great at all the duties, Larry Bird was able to hire and fire successfully. The real issue is that Magic Johnson isn't comfortable with firing. He never has been. He's always a team-oriented guy. He's always a fun-loving guy. He liked hiring people. If it were up to Magic Johnson, he'd have 40 guys on his team. 50. They couldn't stop the guy from hiring other dudes. And that was the issue, right? The issue is that, Magic Johnson was no longer having fun, because he was going to have to fire people. Right? Firing people isn't Magic Johnson. He in his NBA career, he made people better. Okay, so what Magic Johnson would have done is he would have stuck with the same guys because that's the era that he's from, and he would have stuck around and made them better. I mean, it's just the way it's just in his nature. Right? He wants to stick with the guys that he has, right? I made the picks, I'm sticking with them. And I think he was back. He was a little upset that he was going to have to fire Luke Walton. Okay, and the fact of the matter is that I feel like he was getting pressured by LeBron James to expose of Luke Walton. And when he woke up in the morning, he looked at his kids. He ate breakfast with his wife. He sat down. He looked himself in the mirror, and he was like, you know what? You weren't great at this either. Like Magic Johnson wasn't great at the job. He was a great ambassador of the game. He was great with people. Sure, he brought in LeBron James, but did he do any scouting? Right? Did he? Was he looking at potential targets in the draft already? What kind of homework was he doing? Just last week, the Houston Rockets president, Daryl Morey, was overseas trying to check out other players. That's not Magic Johnson. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to show up. He wants to shake hands. He's very political, right? He doesn't want to step on toes. And what's going to happen is he would have stepped on Luke Walton. And Luke Walton really wasn't that bad of a coach. He's not a bad coach. Luke Walton's a fine coach. But Luke Walton didn't know that he was going to be dealing with, all the stuff and baggage that LeBron James brings. Okay. And a little bit of it's Magic Johnson's fault, but a lot of bit of it's LeBron James's fault. Let's be honest. LeBron James is not super easy to get along with. Okay. Neither is Pat Riley, but when they were in Miami, and I remember the story that I read in Sports Illustrated that LeBron James wanted to stay in Cleveland one more day. And Eric Spoelstra called Riley, LeBron staying one more day with his family before we fly back home. And Pat Riley politely told him, get your players on the plane, let him charter another plane. The team is going home. And that's not the only story that LeBron James has to where he wants to do things and he holds himself higher above the team. I mean, it was just seen a couple weeks ago that he was sitting by himself on the bench. Like Magic Johnson is a little the opposite of LeBron James. LeBron James might want to teach. He might want to pass the ball. He might want to be like the others, but he's not a great uniter. He doesn't want to have 40, 50 people over his house. He could fire people. And I think that's where there was a great impasse. Magic Johnson wanted to go back to being Magic Johnson. Quite honestly, it was a big problem was he wasn't able to acquire Anthony Davis, and even though he wanted to fire Luke Walton, in Magic Johnson's heart, he knew that he needed to be fired either just as much or more than Luke Walton. Like, he knew that he didn't put in the work as well. So he didn't have any business firing anybody if he didn't put in 100% himself. And all the stories are coming out now that Magic wanted to still be Magic. And really what Magic Johnson wanted to do was buy a really good car and drive it. Right? You buy a really nice car and you drive it. It is what it is. It was nice and easy. You purchased it. You're driving down the road. Everybody thinks you look great. What he didn't want to do was buy a really bad car and restore it. Restoration takes time. He wanted to go in, get his 2 or 3 stars, and let the car be beautiful and drive itself and not have to fix it up, not put new paint on it. He didn't want to do all that. So a lot of it falls on Magic Johnson. But you know what? It was nice. It's always nice. People don't really like it when it happens to them, but when someone breaks up with you early, right, it means that they weren't going to be invested in you in the long run. Would you rather be broken up with, right, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, or would you like somebody to politely break up with you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? They know they don't like you, so they move on. I think that's a little bit nicer way to do things. Not in the moment, but obviously, it helps out. You move on quicker. You can get doing better with your life faster. Stuff like that. All right. This is just kind of, we're going over some stuff that we didn't go on over in the show on Tuesdays, which is Shot of Jack on Facebook. If you guys don't know, go check it out. I yell at a screen most of the time. I'm not yelling at a screen today because I want you guys to get to know me and get to know the information. Tomorrow, it's a huge day in golf. We're going to segue into golf. So these are 2 topics that we weren't able to cover the other day when we were just when we had our storyline set up, and then these came out afterwards. But tomorrow kicks off, or should I say tees off, the beginning of the Masters, right? And it's in Augusta, Georgia, right? It is one of the most famous golf clubs in the world. It's founded by Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts on the site of former Fruitland Nursery. The course was designed by Jones and Alistair McKenzie and opened for play in January 1933. It's a nice little background on the Masters for you. Obviously, Bobby Jones started it, and he had a little bit of help. He's off Thursday through Sunday, and the eyes of the golf world turn to Augusta. Every April when it opens, it's just, you put it on your TV. It's a nice, easy going thing to watch. If you love golf, you love it. If you think golf is boring, you hate it, and you watch a more exciting sport. I happen to love golf. Okay. Um, Here are my top 5 choices to win the Masters. Okay, because I understand everybody's involved in it, right? There's X amount of golfers, and everybody in the beginning has an actual chance, but they don't, right? The popular public choice to this day is Tiger Woods, and I think that Tiger Woods is obviously past his prime. I think his age catches up with him, and not so much the number, but the back issue. Listen, unless Tiger Woods takes a lead early in a tournament now, I don't think that he can come from behind and win, because that back on your 4th day of swinging is in much poorest shape compared to the first or the second day. He builds up a 3-4 stroke lead. He can push it to 6, maybe 8, then he can win. If he has to come from behind, right, and designate extra strokes, he's going to lose. I mean, he's an older man. It just like Freddie Couples. Freddie Couples, when he gets in tournaments, right? Even if he gets the lead around the late 3rd round, early 4th round, the back won't do it anymore. I think the Tiger's going to start running into, with all those surgeries that he had, I think he's going to run into much of the same problems, much of the same issues. I know you guys love Tiger Woods. He's given us great memories, but facts are facts and the body breaks down. We were just talking about Magic Johnson, the guys from his era, Larry Bird. Larry Bird's back broke down, wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do. I'm getting older myself. My knees and my feet, I can't run as much as my body won't do it, won't allow it. So we love Tiger Woods, but he's snarky. He's got a kind of like a side attitude. I don't really like him. But that being said, he always is at the top of the leaderboard toward the end of the Masters. Usually a slow starter, but once that 2nd, that 3rd round goes, he starts really catching traction. He's a good, steady golfer, always there at the end. That's the thing you need to know about Justin Rose, is he's going to be there. He's 14-1 on odds. So obviously the odds makers still believe that Justin Rose is going to be there, and you should as well. Secondly, Jordan Spieth. I understand he's having a down year. Guess what? Last year he was having a down year too. And going into the Masters, it just smelled the grass, the layout of the course. And all of a sudden, Jordan Spieth started feeling like Jordan Spieth of 2-3 years ago. That's just the way it goes. He maps out Augusta better than anyone. I know they all study the course. I know they know their strengths. They know their weaknesses when they go into it. It just seems like out of the whole class, Jordan Spieth studies just a little bit more and applies it just a little bit better. Even if he loses, he still looks better studied than every other golfer out there. So that gives him an opportunity every time. I think he'll be in it once again. He's a 16-1. Who else do we have? Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson, the long ball is his calling card, right? It always gives him a serious chance to win, right? Augusta, right? Augusta's total yardage is 7,475 yards, and it's got 4 par 5s. So let's say that Dustin Johnson is able to eagle half of those over 4 days. Right? If he's able to stay par throughout the whole course, but he takes advantage of those par 5s, that gives him a supreme advantage over everyone else. All he has to do is par the other parts of the course. So for that, Dustin Johnson will always be in contention. He's 11-1. Okay, I believe the best odds currently is Rory McIlroy, and that he's 8-1. These are Las Vegas odds. I don't have Rory McIlroy. His drive always seems to be a bit wild, and he's always good on day 3 and day 4. Day 1, he paralyzes himself. He ends up in a sand trap, and ends up shooting a 7 on that hole. And every time everybody thinks it's Rory McIlroy's tournament, it's not. So for that, I don't have Rory McIlroy. I do, however, have a couple wild cards, and here's 2 of them. I've got Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, like Dustin Johnson, can also smack the ball a mile. Okay? His biggest issue is he needs to stay composed. Jon Rahm could smack the ball a mile, or he could smack the ball, it ends up in the woods, and he puts his driver over his knee. But he stays uncomposed for the next 2 to 3 holes, and that's what hurts him. If he can keep his composure and understand that he'll get it back on the next hole, or even the hole after that, he'll be just fine. But that dude is fire. Fire can either light a candle, and in the same respect, it could burn your house to the ground. That's Jon Rahm, but he's fun to watch. Jon Rahm is so fun to watch, especially if he's getting contention, right? Because if he gets hot, right, that candle lights up the room. But it's just as fun to see the house burn to the ground. And I've got one more. He's even keeled. His name is Bryson DeChambeau. Oh, wait, I forgot to name the Jon Rahm is 20-1. I'm sorry. Jon Rahm's 20-1. It's not bad odds. Vegas still thinks he has a striker's chance because of his distance as well. And our last guy is Bryson DeChambeau, as I was just saying. Somewhat of a map-out artist, kind of like Spieth. They both study well. They both meticulously. They don't take huge chances. Right? They'll take the par. Listen, if we're out of position, we'll take the bogey and we'll move on to the next hole. We're trying to keep a steady pace here. They're pace players. It could be his breakout game. Kind of dresses a little bit like Payne Stewart. It would be fun to see him win. All right, so to recap, our 5 that we think should be in contention, I've got Justin Rose winning. Okay, but I also have Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Jon Rahm, and Bryson DeChambeau should be in the mix. Justin Rose, he's an even-keeled guy. Jordan Spieth's a map-out guy. Dustin Johnson and Jon Rahm are my long ball hitters. Okay? They absolutely smack it a mile, and if their putting is good that day, who knows? Scores could be low. And then I've got Bryson DeChambeau, and he's a mix of Rose and Spieth. Folks, I'm Jack Neary. That was Shot of Jack. That was a little bit about Magic Johnson and a little bit about what we're going to see tomorrow in the Masters tournament. This is the beginning of our YouTube page, and we're going to continue to grow the audience and hopefully expand upon other platforms. We'll talk to you next week.